Hello everyone, it's ArtsyTashann here. I'm sorry for my voice right now, I do have a cold, and I don't really know what this intro is, but in case you're wondering what's going on your screen right now, I am doing a random character drawing from my handy dandy random character generator. All of the clips that I had originally recorded didn't save in the proper file format, so unfortunately I was not able to edit them. I am still trying out this new recording style as well, where half of it is the actual drawing I'm doing and the other half is the speed paint. I do have a few different ideas as to how I want to record videos from now on, but I don't know what that's gonna look like. I can tell that, based on my analytics at least, people do like the half and half split, however it is really difficult to do and it isn't lined up properly. This drawing in total took me 7 hours to do, and so the speed paint and the sped up version of my drawing definitely don't line up properly. I should probably talk at least a bit about what's going on right now. The first thing that I did with this drawing was I wrote down all of the things that I had rolled to include in this drawing, and I started brainstorming through what I wanted this character to look like. After a few rough sketches, I turned to Pinterest and found a few references that I liked. How the generator works is I essentially roll a d20 for each category. For species, I got number 18, fairy. For mood, I got number 12, thoughtful. For accessories, I rolled a few times and I got 5 for belts, 9 for goggles, and 17 for gloves, along with 18 for hair beads. For details, I rolled twice and I got 8 for piercings and 10 for rosy cheeks, and 18 for gold tooth. When I rolled for hair, I got 20, which was you choose. I went with mixed and decided to go with braids and fluffy. For the general theme, I rolled a 17 for chaotic. Now I had to take all of those and incorporate it into a single cohesive drawing. And that's about the gist of what we're doing today. The whole rolling part is pretty easy. It makes it simple when I want to create a random character. However, it is a little bit difficult in the sense that I have no idea what I'm drawing. I had to essentially just roll with these different options and create a whole character concept on the fly. Pun intended. But overall, it was a really fun challenge. And I hope in the future I can do this again and actually show what I was rolling for, but this time you just get the character drawing. After I had the whole concept, I was really stuck between an inventor or an alchemist. In the end, I kind of settled on both. I didn't want her hands to look empty, so I gave her a book to hold and struggled a lot with how I wanted the arms to be positioned. I'm actually pretty surprised that it wasn't the whole drawing part of the video that took me so long to get it posted, but it was actually the fact that I've decided to switch editing softwares from Clipchamp by Microsoft to DaVinci Resolve. It does make me feel a whole lot more professional though with how I'm actually recording things, and it does make things a little bit faster, so that's good. I feel like I'm talking too much about myself and my problems though, so let's get back to the drawing. I really struggled with trying to get the wings right. Fun fact, this is actually my first time drawing fairy wings. I've drawn bird wings before, but never fairy wings. I really didn't know what I was going to do with these wings, but I did love how they turned out. Jumping into drawing a random character was probably not my greatest idea, since it's been a really long time since I've drawn something humanoid. Most of my stickers are mushrooms or objects with mushrooms, or oftentimes flowers, so I haven't had a lot of experience recently with drawing characters. It used to be what I exclusively drew, but now I've gotten more into object-based drawings. But this character was super complex and had a lot of different pieces that I had to consider. Another fun fact, this is actually my first time drawing something that resembles braids. When I did all of my previous character drawings, braids just weren't something I included often. It's mostly because they have such complex shapes, but on this one in particular, I really didn't want to include anything that would take me super long to draw. and I didn't want it to get super complicated. When I was thinking about who she would be as a character, especially with the creator/inventor vibes, I was thinking that she probably wouldn't want to have her hair all over the place. If you're playing with potions or playing with fire or electricity, you probably wouldn't want your hair to get in the way. So I thought it would be cool and kind of functional if most of her hair was in braids. And I also didn't really know how to include hair beads otherwise. So it was a win-win. While I was drawing this fairy, I had to keep in mind what her job would be when I was doing the outfit. I really didn't want the outfit to be super complicated because it would overcomplicate the entire thing. But when I started on her feet, I didn't want them to look too barren. So I ended up going with the leafy kind of knee-high boots, and I gave her a simple apron and some shorts to help cover her without making a super complicated dress or something. Part of my inspiration did come from the blacksmith in Rogue Legacy 2, which if you haven't been keeping up with my gaming channel, you probably don't know who I'm talking about. But I feel like she would be the kind of character who would be his apprentice, but instead of working with metal, she would be the one studying books and blueprints, and she'd likely also be working pretty closely with the enchantress. Again, if you haven't been keeping up with my gaming channel, Tashann Plays, link in the description, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. She also gives a lot of wood fairy vibes, I feel. It might be just the fact that I went with leaves for knee-high boots, but she does give wood fairy vibes in my opinion, and I really like that. One of my favorite things about doing these drawings is probably the line art. It's the point at which you can really see everything starting to come together with clear shapes. On this one in particular, I decided to go with a line art that is rather different from my usual style. Usually with my line art, I go with the studio pen in Procreate, but for this one, I decided to go with the mercury brush because it has some texture on it. I went with this brush because the line art on a drawing can greatly change how a drawing feels. The mercury brush has softer edges and a more rough texture, whereas the studio pen has very smooth and crisp lines. I didn't want this fairy to look rough and hard around the edges. I wanted her to look really soft and inquisitive, so that's one of the main reasons why I went with the mercury brush. She's a little rough around the edges, and that's really the vibe I was going for. Coloring is also both one of my favorite and my least favorite parts of the drawing process. Your color palette can very often almost make or break your entire piece. There have been situations where I finished the line art, I loved the entire drawing, but if I couldn't figure out the palette, I'd often give up on the drawing completely and start over. Color theory is especially important. Everyone's least favorite thing about coloring and art in general is color theory. With this color palette, I decided to stay with really warm and gentle earthy tones. In part, this was leaning into her whole wood fairy vibe, but the other part of it was the fact that I didn't want her to feel too cold. Overall, I absolutely love how this drawing came out. I am so very happy with how it looks, how it feels, and I actually really liked getting into more of the nitty-gritty bits of recording. It's not all the clean, crisp videos you see on YouTube. I do have a life, you know. It's not much outside of YouTube, but it is there. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you like how she turned out. And if you've made it to the end, please tell me what I should name her in the comments. That's all for today. Bye for now.